Could hit you with a candlestick, but I want you in my life forevermore. Should've crushed your cheekbone and your nose, but I kinda like your face. Yeah, I like it.
Hello all. So in those two videos, we saw one of the new features which we have, or two of the new features in fact, which we have in the TPoS extension, which is the point of sale extension for LNbits. It's a very useful extension. It's been running for 5+ years. It's the first Bitcoin Lightning point of sale, in fact, and it was our first extension in LNbits, built by Tal, who's been working on it for 5 long years, adding feature after feature, and now we've got this great new feature where we can actually do Stripe, Fiat, tap-to-pay payments. Now I say it's great because me as a merchant, I've always had 2 POSs. I've had an expensive Stripe POS for accepting Fiat payments, and then I've had my LNbits POS for accepting Bitcoin payments. I've got 2 sets of transactions. I have to have my inventory in 2 separate places, and it kind of sucks. So now I can get rid of this, and I can just use LNbits for everything. It's entirely optional. You don't have to use it, but I'm going to make use of it because it's very, very useful. And as we saw in that first video, it means that you can now even accept a card for payment, and then you can use the ATM function, which we have in the POS, and actually give someone some Bitcoin. So you can sell Bitcoin to your customers. You can onboard your customers to Bitcoin. And this doesn't have to just be running in a Android POS. You could just run it also on an Android, regular and normal Android device, as long as it's got NFC and I think it needs location as well. So what I've actually got open here is the old way in which we would, or the normal way in which we would run the TPoS, which is as a progressive web app in the browser, and then you can select products, and then you can go to checkout, and then you click pay or generate an invoice, and then you can pay the invoice, and then the invoice will be settled, etc. Or you can use a bulk card to pay for it, whatever. So this is the normal way in which we would do it. In order to use Stripe Tap to Pay, we have to use an Android native client. So we have a wrapper which kind of just wraps this page up and then communicates with the page via a WebSocket. So I'm going to show you that now. So here's the wrapper. And when you open up the wrapper, the first thing you'll see is this scan pairing code. You'll click on that, and that shareable QR code, which we have in TPoS for sharing the point of sale, if you've enabled Stripe Tap to Pay, there's 2 little input boxes which you fill in, and then once you do that, it amends the QR code. You can scan that pairing code, scan the pairing code, and that's all the application needs in order to be able to pair, and then contact Stripe to be able to do what it needs to do for Tap to Pay. You'll then get a button which says continue to save POS. When I click on that, it will either register the device, or it will see if the device is already registered, and then allow me to continue. And now it's basically as it was before, except we have this ugly bar at the top, this ugly white bar at the top, which I can't seem to get rid of, but hey ho. Except now I can click on a product and then go to checkout. When I click pay, I can click this GB tap or whatever currency you're running it in. This will request an invoice from Stripe, a tap to pay, a payment intent, from Stripe, which means you can then use a regular normal bank card to do the transaction. And then once that gets a webhook back from Stripe, it will just say that it's completed just like it would any other payment, any other Bitcoin payment on the TPoS. I'm going to print a receipt, why not? This is an entirely optional feature. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. You want to keep your LNbits pure. I entirely understand. But for me, myself, I like the idea of being able to sell Bitcoin to my customers, which I won't do because obviously it's illegal in the UK. But I do like the idea of it. Theoretically, I would definitely never do that. But I also just like having all my transactions and all my inventory under one roof. So let's dive in and look at how to set this up, shall we? We don't have it in a Play Store or anything like that, and we haven't got it for iOS, so it's just for Android. You'll have to go to the repo and then click on the latest release. I've only currently got one release, and then click on this APK here. It'll download, install it, and then you're good to go. This is built just using an action in the repo. It builds the APK for me, and it's got your checksum there, so you could cross-reference that if you want to. If you're a bit worried about doing that, then, which I completely understand, then just clone the repo and then open up in something like Android Studio, and you can pretty easily build it and push it to the device that way. And then you don't need to use the release from the repo itself. You'll need to be using a LNbits install, which has Stripe payments enabled. So go to settings, Fiat providers, click on the little drop down here for Stripe. You'll need to add your API key. This API key, which you get from the Stripe dashboard, is it needs checkout and payment intents enabled as permissions. So once you've done that, paste that into here. I've actually got another video for this on this YouTube channel called Fiat Providers. You can go check that out, and it goes into this a little bit more depth, but I'll cover it anyway just now. And then once you've added the API key, go back to Stripe and add this webhook. So whatever your URL is for your domain, and then API version 1 callback Stripe. Add that to Stripe. It'll give you as a webhook, and that means that when a payment happens, it will ping this LNbits server to tell you, so you know to show the little green tick on the POS. It will also generate a signing key. You'll need to copy that signing key and paste that into LNbits just here, or signing secret even. So once you've got that enabled, and then you go to create that POS, you'll see that it'll say Fiat payments. There'll be a little thing here, so you can click on that, click on Stripe. If you don't check the allow Stripe card payments, then when you create the Stripe payment, it will just create a QR code, and the customer has to scan the QR code, and it'll open a checkout page which they can pay in. But if you want to enable the card payments, then click on the little checkbox which allow Stripe card payments. I've also got enable selling Bitcoin, which you saw in the first video. And then I've got enable printing. It says experimental because these printers on these Android POSs are really faffy. I got mine set up nicely, but they can be really faffy. So that's why it says experimental, but it's actually not experimental at all. And on the second video where you saw it print out of the printer attached to my computer, it just works seamlessly. I didn't have to set up anything. And then what else have we got in this? So we've got a business name, so that'll turn up on the receipt. And then for withdrawals, I've got maximum amount per day and how many times you can withdraw on the ATM. That's a little security feature we added in there. And the UI for the POS, TPoS is just so clean. So you can add items as I've done on mine. And that's easy enough. You don't just click on add item, add in the name, description, price, whatever. So once you've done that, you'll need to generate a pairing QR code in the TPoS extension for that app on the Android POS or Android device. To do that, click on the little QR code thing here. If you have card payments enabled, you'll get these 2 extra little input fields. So you have one for a POS Stripe location. So go over to the Stripe dashboard again, click on terminal, create a new location. This will give you an ID like this one. Copy it and then paste that in there. And you'll see that the QR code is created on the fly because we don't actually store that in LNbits because we don't need it. So it's just done front end in your browser. And then once you've done that, the other thing you need, the app needs, is the ACL token from LNbits. So to create one of those, this is a little token like an API key, but just for the Fiat part of LNbits. So just to get to that, go to my account in LNbits, then click on access control list, create a new create a new API token, make sure you've got Fiat enabled, for read and write. And then once you've done that, make sure you hit update. Copy that API key it gives you, and then paste that one in there. We also don't store that in the TPoS extension as it's already in core. Now that gives you the pairing QR code. Scan that. When you open up the APK, the TPoS wrapper, there's a button which says scan QR code. Click on that, scan the QR code. Then it'll say continue to POS, and you click on the continue to POS button. It will register the POS. So LNbits registers the POS on Stripe for you. And then it'll open up the POS and it'll work, hopefully. You'll have some permissions you need to allow as well. An important note, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, is when you buy these Android POSs, make sure you get one, and if you want to use it for traditional card payments, make sure you get one which has not been rooted, because that can get in the way of that. And I think this is like an Android 11 one as well. It needs NFC location in order to work, and it needs not to be rooted. Most of those have that nowadays if you buy them from somewhere like AliExpress or whatever. And I think that is probably it for the scope of this video. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I personally, as a merchant, find it very useful. I hope other merchants do out there, not having to use multiple points of sale systems for Fiat and then for Bitcoin, and then also not having multiple points of sale and having all my transactions just go to one place, LNbits. Also for those occasions when you're on board and you want to sell some Bitcoin to a customer. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have fun with it. And yeah, cheers. Bye.